really want to get the most out of your iPhone camera and make your iPhone shots look really professional and cinematic, then you need accessories. And accessories in the form of additional lenses. To show you some of the most interesting lenses on the market today, I asked Sandmarc to send me 2 of their lenses. And they kindly agreed. What these 2 lenses can do and why you can't get the same results with your iPhone camera is what I'm going to show you now. In order to attach an extra lens to your iPhone, you need a special case. Sandmarc offers cases in different colors and materials. The cases are not only high quality, they also protect the camera of your iPhone well. They are therefore also well suited for use without an additional lens. But the special thing about this case is that it has a thread for 2 cameras of your iPhone, and you can screw the additional lens onto the thread. To do this, you need to know which lens is located where on your iPhone. On the iPhone 14 Pro, for example, the telephoto lens is on the top left, the main lens is on the bottom left, and the ultra-wide camera is on the right. You need to know this, because when you attach an add-on lens, you have to make a conscious decision about which lens you want to screw it onto. And one more thing you need to know before using an add-on lens for your iPhone. The standard iPhone camera app is only partially suitable for the use of an add-on lens. Apart from the fact that it hardly allows manual settings, it automatically changes the lens in the background depending on the situation, without the user really being aware of it. But you have screwed your additional lens onto one of the 3 cameras, and it is precisely this camera that must be active from now on. In addition, it may be necessary to completely deactivate the stabilization. This is also not possible with the standard camera app. With ProCam, you can specifically set which lens you want to use. In addition, all capture settings can be adjusted manually. The app is suitable for photos and videos. For videos, I can also recommend Filmic Pro. The current version requires a subscription. Personally, I still use the old version Filmic Legacy, which you could buy for a one-time fee. By the way, if you want to know which settings you should use to get the most out of the standard camera app in video or photo mode, take a look at my detailed tutorials. Okay, now you know the most important requirements to use an add-on lens on your iPhone. So what can these 2 lenses do anyway? Both lenses I have here today are absolute specialists and serve a very specific purpose. This lens is a 100mm macro lens. As you may know, a macro lens is meant to take close-up shots. Small objects and details can be shown very large with a macro lens. Now you may say your iPhone already has a macro lens. Yes, that's true, but your iPhone's macro lens is quite different from this lens. The iPhone macro lens has an ultra-wide focal length. Therefore, you have to get extremely close to the subject for close-up shots. Especially when it comes to video, this can be a big disadvantage. Certain shots become almost impossible. This lens is actually a telephoto lens at 100mm. You can take a greatly magnified image of your subject, but you don't have to get so extremely close. This makes it much easier to take close-up shots. In particular, it makes capturing moving subjects much easier. The 100mm has another very big advantage. Compared to the ultra-wide lens of your iPhone, it creates a very strong depth of field. The background becomes very soft. It creates a very nice bokeh and a fantastic cinematic effect. And there's another advantage. The 100mm macro lens can be used not only in combination with your iPhone's main camera, but also in combination with the telephoto lens. In this way, it comes to an even stronger magnification. You can thus stay even a bit further away from your subject when you take your shot. This also has the advantage of making it much easier to expose your subject. When you take a shot with your iPhone's ultra-wide macro lens, some of the time you'll have to get so close that you'll heavily obscure the subject with your camera. Before you get a lens like this, there are 3 things you should know. If you attach the 100mm macro to your iPhone's main camera, you can also use the default camera app. However, to do so, you need to enable the macro control feature in the settings of the camera app. When you start the camera app, your iPhone will automatically switch to macro mode. That is to the ultra-wide camera and focus on the back of the lens. By tapping on the icon with the flower, you deactivate the macro feature of your iPhone and can use the 100mm macro. For use on the telephoto lens, however, you should use a third-party app, such as ProCam. The 100mm macro has a fixed focus. You find the correct focus for your subject by moving closer or a bit further away. Thus, there is no autofocus either. This isn't a huge problem with a macro lens of this focal length, but it does require some unusual handling. The fixed focus makes this lens a pure macro lens. Objects that are further away cannot be focused. 100mm would be an interesting focal length for portraits, but that is not what the lens is intended for. We are therefore dealing with a specialist for very special situations that does what it is supposed to do well and in high quality. It's similar with the second lens, the anamorphic lens. Ever since I got into filmmaking, I've always been interested in reproducing that cinematic high quality look from movies, preferably with simple and not too expensive tools. And there is probably no iPhone accessory that allows you to get closer to that cinematic look than an anamorphic lens. There's a simple reason for this. Anamorphic lenses are used all the time in professional movies and create a very special look. It is not easy to fully explain this look. Among other things, anamorphic lenses create a particularly wide field of view. They lead to a vertically stretched bokeh and, most importantly, to bluish, very special and distinctive lens flares. And it is precisely because we know these characteristics from many well-known movies and blockbusters that we perceive this look as particularly cinematic. But let's take a look at how this looks in combination with the iPhone. Sandmarc's anamorphic lens is designed to be used on the iPhone's main camera. Like with the macro lens, you can use the standard camera app with it, but you'll need to enable macro control and disable the macro mode as described earlier. You also have to make sure to install the lens correctly. The front of the lens can be rotated. You need to rotate it so that the white line of the lens is in line with the line of the case. An anamorphic lens will distort the image vertically. That is, the result of your shot will look vertically stretched. This is not a defect of the lens. It is a typical characteristic of all anamorphic lenses. Therefore, to make your shot look correct, you need to squeeze it. This is very easy, either in your video editing software, like here in Final Cut Pro, by adjusting the y-axis accordingly, or, and this would even be easier, by filming with an app like Filmic Pro. Here you can set the anamorphic factor and the app will then adjust the image automatically. But even in the case of the anamorphic lens, there are 3 things you should know before you get one. When using an anamorphic lens, it is mainly about the very special look and character of such a lens. Especially compared to the other shots of your iPhone, the shot with the anamorphic lens clearly doesn't look as sharp and detailed. Now you can argue that the cinematic look generally looks soft and doesn't show that digital sharpness. But still, you should know this. Because of its special properties, the anamorphic lens is not suitable for vertical shots, but only for horizontal ones. If you're making your videos primarily for social media, it's probably not the right choice. When you shoot with an anamorphic lens, it can cause problems with the electronic image stabilization. If there's a lot of movement in the shot, it can create an unsightly wobble effect, which can completely ruin your shot. To avoid this, you should deactivate the stabilization if you want to move your iPhone during the recording. But then you'll probably have to use a gimbal. And not every gimbal can handle the combination of an iPhone and an add-on lens well. The DJI Osmo Mobile 6, for example, gave me some problems, while I was able to work well with the Insta360 Flow. And yes, you can't completely disable the stabilization in the default camera app. You have to use an app like Pro Camera or Filmic Pro for that, as I said earlier. As you could see, with an add-on lens, you can take very special shots that would not be possible in this form even with the best and latest iPhone. But it takes some prior knowledge and practice to be able to achieve good results. If I could arouse your interest, you can find the link to the Sandmarc lenses in the video description and give me a like as feedback if the video was interesting for you. There will be more tutorials on the iPhone, so stay tuned and see you next time.